Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today. So, I will be going through the strategies explaining what math anxiety is and how to help your child overcome math anxiety. Thank you for giving up your Saturday and joining me. So, I'm Najma Mohammed. I'm a teacher of mathematics and also a tutor at Najma, the maths tutor. I want to explain what the signs of math anxieties are. It's a debilitating emotional reaction to maths. So it's not that when they see something hard or a question that is really hard, that your child would go, "Oh, I can't do it." It's not just that. It's just that anything to do with maths makes them really anxious. They avoid maths-related tasks. So at home, anything to do with calculating something, they would avoid it, or they would avoid doing homework. And it's a feeling that everyone knows the answer but them. So your child would feel like, even in the classroom, they would feel that everyone knows the answer except them. So that kind of heightens their anxiety, makes it worse. And they believe that they are not a maths person or will never understand it. I as a teacher, I teach high school, year 7 all the way to year 11, and I see a lot of this in some of my students. And I have my own strategies that I use, and in this session, I'm trying to help your child at home. And there is also an over-reliance on memorizing rules that rather than understanding concepts. Again, I've come across this as well. So I usually teach understanding concepts rather than just rules. And I don't encourage memorizing rules because we're human beings, we tend to forget. And if you just rely on your memory, that's a really bad strategy or very temporary strategy. So students with high math anxiety will be relying a lot on memorizing rules rather than understanding concepts, because for them, they'll think understanding concepts is very hard. So what is it about maths? We don't really hear about English anxiety or science anxiety or history anxiety. We only hear about maths anxiety. Why is it? Well, answers in mathematics are predominantly right or wrong. You can't have middle number. Like when you are answering a GCSE question or any assessment question, you either have a right or a wrong answer. And so there is a competitive element. And I've seen it in my classroom, it's like students try to compete with each other. Who's going to finish first? Who's going to answer the question first? And so that kind of makes it easy for a student to feel anxious all the time. And it is clear to a class who is good and who is bad at maths. And I try as a teacher to eliminate that, to try and make sure that even my good students, or not my good students, my students who have high maths attainment are working at their level with students who are low attainment working at their level. I encourage them to work at their own pace. I actually do. I give out 20 questions and I say, as long as what you do me 2 or 3 questions and you get them right, I'm happy with it. So I kind of encourage my students that way. I don't tell them that it's a competition. I tell them that the questions are there because I have different types of students in the classroom. So if you are working at a slower pace, use that as your strength. And that's how I do it. And this is something you could also encourage your child at home, not compare them to someone else who is good at maths. So being quick at maths is put on a pedestal. That's another thing. A lot of maths deals with abstract ideas, like negative numbers and fractions and trigonometry. So all these things students see it as, they can't see it in real life. They can't imagine it or visualize it. And so it makes it hard for them to understand how to understand the concept because they can't visualize it. So these are some of the things that heightens or makes it math anxiety high for some of the children. So the big issue, when they have maths anxiety, and it leads to low assessment grades, and then low assessment grades makes them more anxious, and then the anxiety leads to low assessment. So it's kind of like a vicious cycle. It goes on and on and on and on and on. And this was very interesting because the other day I had a Year 9 parents evening, and one of the parents said to me that his daughter really struggles with homework, and sometimes she would hit the table with frustration and all that. And I could see that relating to the assessment grade, her assessment grade. And so yeah, there is a connection, and I had to sit with the parent and try and give him tips and advice on how he can help his daughter at home. So math anxiety can affect concentration, it can affect decision making, and it can affect working memory. So concentration means, concentrating in the classroom, in the math lessons, concentrating in the assessment, concentrating in homework at home. Decision making, so they'll not be confident enough to, in terms of their working out or getting their answers. Working memory, this is working mental maths, and they will struggle with that as well. They will avoid it. So what can we do about it? Reducing the anxiety response. So we can remove time pressures on learning episodes where it's stressful. Ensure any time practice is presented in a fun and safe manner. So when they're trying to do anything at home, try and make sure that it's not there's no time pressure on there for them to do that. So maybe like for instance, their homework. I know you could be like, you have this amount of time, 1 hour to do it. Give them plenty of time to do their homework. Use tools such as manipulatives to reduce the demand on working memory. So this is something we're already doing in the classroom. So what you can do is, and I'll show you examples later on, but there's so many manipulators. Manipulative means physical objects. So you can either have counters, you can have cubes, you can have anything, but using real life, you can even have coins, anything that in real life would help them understand. So if you wanted to talk about pizza or fractions, you can have a pizza and you go, okay, what fraction did you take, or things like that. We can use breathing techniques and reflection to help children regain control and engage their parasympathetic nervous system, and I'll explain how to do that next. And we can use tools to help children express how they're feeling and learn to self-regulate their emotional response. So we have two there. We have the hand brain and the growth zone model, and I'll be going through the growth zone model today. So there is breathing techniques. So you can try it with me. You place your feet flat on the floor and then breathe in 4 beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then breathe out for 8 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and repeat it 3 times. Okay, so that will kind of calm them down, calm your child down. The main thing here is that the breathing out is longer than the breathing in. Then there's another type of breathing, we call it focused breathing. When you breathe in to try to imagine, when you breathe in, try to imagine you are inflating a balloon deep within your stomach. So breathe in, and then when you breathe out, you're blowing out candles on a cake. So this is another way of calming and focusing breath that will help. So this is something that has been proven to help deal with anxiety. And the NHS says that regular breathing exercises can help reduce stress, anxiety, and panic. And I do that with my students, especially the lower attaining sets, especially my year 7s. I just tell them to stand up and we do some breathing exercises, and then we continue with our class. There's also something called reflection. I have a reflection in my classroom, and I found that it really helped, because at the end of every lesson, the students tend to, reflect. So they tend to think, what did I do, or what did I learn from this? What can I make sure that I do next time? So it kind of just breaks it down, so it doesn't have this high expectations on them that they should have known what was taught in this classroom. One thing I would encourage is to use traffic lights. So this is a traffic light. This is something that a lot of teachers use as well. So at the end of any set time any work that you do with your child, you can ask them what they think, where the emotions are, because it's really important to talk about emotions, guys. It's really important. So it can either be green. They can do this on their own and they fully understand what they're doing, and they can explain to others and help them out. This is what all the teachers want their students to be at. And then you have the amber, which is, I think I'm getting better at this. I can complete it when I look at an example, or if I check with a friend or teacher. And then red is, I'm just starting to learn about this and I don't fully understand yet. Please help me a little. So this is really good, because so as teachers, we have a green, yellow, and red card, and it's very anonymous. No one else can see it. And then the student, just if they're struggling with something, they would put the green card on the table, and then as the teacher is walking around, they'll be like, okay, green means they're actually doing well, and then amber means that they're struggling, so I won't approach amber yet, and I would go for the red first. So I would make sure that I help the red, and then you would see them changing cards. So the red would, after they have understood it and they've answered a few questions, they would swap it with the amber. So it's very discreet, so that means no one else knows about it except me, because everyone else is doing their work. And and when I come and help them, I do it very discreetly, so they don't feel like they're not good at maths. But it's something that you can do with your child as well. Maybe give them a card, get a green, yellow, and red card. And when they're doing their homework, they can put their green, which means they're okay and you don't need to bother them. You can put a yellow, which means I am okay, but I'm struggling. And the red means I don't really understand this. So what you can do is either you help them, or maybe you can send an email. I would really appreciate, because I don't know what's happening at home. So you could send an email and say, to your tutor or teacher, and say, my child was struggling with this, just to let you know. Okay. Writing your worries, concerns down on paper before attempting maths has been shown to reduce maths anxiety and boost performance. So you could encourage your child to write down their worries or concerns on paper before attempting maths, so that they kind of let it all out first before they start doing the maths, and it does boost performance. Okay, so this is something I'm very, very passionate about. It's called fixed and growth mindset. So you have fixed mindset, ability is static, and growth mindset, ability can be developed. So this is something I'm passionate about, because when I was volunteering with this charity, Reach Out UK, they're very, very passionate about growth mindset. And when I was using strategies with my mentor at that time, it was amazing, like the difference you could see with my mentee. So I had a 9 student I was mentoring, and you could see the difference after weeks that I was with her. So fixed mindset, you can get a growth mindset. I'll tell you a difference. So there was an example lately when I had a friend of mine. We were taking part in the park run for the children, and two of her grandchildren were taking part in the park run. And there was the eldest and the small, and they were just very little, 5 and 4 year old, I think, or somewhere there. And so I could quickly see who had a fixed mindset and who had a growth mindset. So the fixed mindset was the one who was very competitive. He really wanted to win. And as soon as he found out that he was falling behind, he stopped running. And he just convinced himself, he's like, what's the point of running? I'm not going to win. And so he just stopped. And so my friend had to go and encourage him to run, and she was running with him. So she was encouraging him that it's not about just winning, it's the participating and making sure that you finish. So she was teaching him that finishing is more important than winning. And then you had the other boy, the other son or the other grandson, and he was just running, having fun. He didn't care whether he was winning or not. He was just enjoying his moment. And he was just running all the way, and he did almost give up because he got tired. But again, his grandma was there, but this was nothing to do with his mindset. It was just physically tired because it was the first time they were taking part in the park run. But he still ended up running with his grandma all the way to the end. So what I'm trying to say is, with the fixed mindset children, they tend to give up very quickly. And they think that they're not really good, so why bother? But the growth mindset will go, you know what, I'll try and see if I can do it. I'll try and finish it. And so these are the differences. There's so much I can say about fixed and growth mindset. I'll be here all day. So fixed mindset, they give up easily. They see failure as fruitless or worse. They ignore useful negative feedback, and they feel threatened by the success of others. And finally, they avoid challenges. And you won't believe me, but the higher attaining students, the students who get high grades, I have noticed have a fixed mindset. They get really, really upset when they lose 4 marks. And I feel like that is a fixed mindset, because they could easily go, okay, well, this is what I got today, or this is what I got now. I just need to make sure next assessment, this topic that is a challenge for me, I would already master it by next assessment. But they don't. They just obsess with the fact that they've missed 3 marks, and it takes me a long time to convince them to let it go and concentrate on the lessons so that they can become, they have other assessments coming up. It's not the end of the world. And then the growth mindset, they persist in the face of setbacks. They see failures as essential to mastery. They learn from criticism. They find lessons and inspirations in the success of others. They embrace challenges with agility. Another example I remember, there was set changes. So we do set changes in year 10 and 11. So in year 10, after an assessment, there was set changes. I currently teach set 2. And so set 1 is the highest. One of my students got really upset because she thought she was missing out on going to set 1. So I, as a teacher, had to decide who would go to set 1 and who would stay in set 2. So one of my students, there were 2 friends. One of them was really upset. So I was like, don't worry, your results are really good. She got 97%, I think. And she was still upset because she thought she was going to miss out on set 1. Of course she was going to go to set 1 because, her attainment was really high. But my other student, who was also as good, didn't go to set 1, and she was upset, but it just took 5 seconds, and after that she was taking part in other activities and getting busy. So I felt like those are good examples of a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. I see so much of these examples in the classroom. So research has found that those who believe intelligence can be developed, so that's growth mindset, they outperform those who believe intelligence is fixed. So it's really important that your child has a growth mindset. So before we continue, I'll give you an example as well. So I'm a parent as well as a teacher, and my daughter has a growth mindset. I am very sure of that. My son, he had a fixed mindset. So every time he would come to me and say, Mom, can I play on your phone? And I would download a game for him. and he would play. I'm like, no, I can't do it. Can you download another game? And I'll be like, and I used to never realize what he was doing until one day I was with him and he tried a few and he goes, I can't really do this. Can we download another game? And I told him why. And he goes, because this one is really hard. And I told him, but you only spent 5 minutes on it. I just downloaded this game for you. Oh, it's hard, mom. So I kind of realized straight away that's a fixed mindset. So I told him no more downloading games. So I've put a restriction saying you can't download any more games. If you want to play on these games. And he had no choice, basically. And every time it was hard, he was like, oh, mom, it's so hard. I'll be like, come sit with me, let's see, because I like this game. I pretended I liked the game. It's a children's game. I'm like, oh yeah, I like this game. Let me see. Oh my God, how do you do this? And you know how you work with young people. And he's 5 years old, by the way, just turned 5. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I don't know how to do this. Do you know how to do it? And he'll be like, let me see, let me try. And I'm like, okay. And he will try, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, okay, oh yeah, this is how you do it. I didn't know. Oh, you're so intelligent. And then so it kind of, I didn't think I was doing that much until last Friday, which was yesterday. And one of his teachers tells me, she tells him, why don't you tell your mom what you did today? And then she said, did you know we were doing puzzles and all the children gave up because it was really hard, but my son stuck with it all the way to the end. He asked for help from his teachers and made sure he solved the puzzle before he moved on. That made me feel really happy because I feel like that was a good sign of a growth mindset. And so the little things that you do with your child at home, it does build up this growth mindset. And so he doesn't get upset anymore if he can't do something like before. He just gets on with it. Okay, so a growth zone model, a tool for reducing anxiety. So this is the comfort zone. So if you have something like 3+7, working on ideas you understand, building fluency, and no new learning takes place. I don't like this comfort zone. I use it for the first 5 minutes of my lesson as a starter, but I don't like this zone because I don't think they're learning anything. This is just repetition, repeating something they already know. And then you have this, which is the growth zone. The growth zone, this is new learning is happening, struggle is inevitable, and mistakes will be made, and then support is necessary to manage feelings of risk and potential failure. So when I know you're not going to be setting this is unless you're homeschooling, but your child will have homework. So this the easy bits, I just want you to understand is they're not really learning that much. It's just something that is already there. Growth zone is where you want your child. You want them to be thinking, oh, this is a little bit hard, and they make mistakes. Mistakes will be made. So you just need to support to manage feelings and of risk and potential failure. So you encourage them. I tell them this. I tell them if you don't think something is hard, then you're not learning. If it's easy, then I tell them you're just repeating something, something you already know. So you're wasting your time basically. And then you have a growth zone, learning is happening, and then you have the anxiety zone where you're overwhelmed by risk and anxiety. Panic can take over and initiate the fight response. So a level of thinking becomes impossible or difficult. So this is the anxiety zone. So you have the comfort, the growth, and the anxiety zone. When your child is struggling with their homework, it's a good thing because it means that they are in their growth zone. If it becomes really, really hard, then yeah, it's anxiety zone. So teachers usually tend to give it like this, set it out where it starts easy and then it goes a little bit hard and then harder. What the students, and I tell my students this a lot, and you can tell your child as well, is that the brain likes to be in the comfort zone. Our brain doesn't like doing anything that's hard. It likes to be in the comfort zone. It doesn't like to do anything that's hard. As soon as you start doing something hard, it rejects it. So the only way you can train your brain to make sure that it doesn't do that is by practicing things that are outside of your comfort zone. I'm sure you've heard of it a lot of times. Get out of your comfort zone. This is why. So getting out of your comfort zone means you're starting to grow. It's hard. You're like stepping out into the into the zone. And so it's gonna be really, really hard. And but as soon as they start getting into this, they'll start enjoying it more, the growth zone, and they'll easily start going into harder tasks, extension tasks. So I want them to be able to do this. But in order to do this, I can't go from comfort all the way here. So there has to be a growth zone. So I want you to be able to see this. I wanted to explain to you what they are, so you can see, when your child is struggling, don't think, oh my God, this is really hard for them. Encourage them and go, okay, this is where you're actually learning. Your brain is telling you, I'm learning something new and I don't like it. So you have to just deal with it. You have to tell the brain, you have to deal with it. Okay. So another thing that research has shown is that the attitude of the parents. So I think you've noticed that you don't see people saying, I'm really not good at English, I'm really not good at history, I'm not really good at science, I'm not really good at art, but they really like admitting that they're not good at maths. Anyone you say, oh yeah, I wasn't a maths person, I didn't really like maths when I was in high school. It's very easy for people to admit that they were really not good at maths, and that kind of is something that children pick up on. So at home, if you are, talking to your child or something, if you say that you were not good at maths, or you didn't like maths when you were growing up, or you're not a maths person, it actually affects your child's learning and achievement. The research shows that it actually affects their learning and achievement. There was a research done, and it said that when mothers told their daughters that they were not good at maths when they were at school, their daughters' achievement declined almost immediately. So the mothers who told their daughters, the results straight away declined. And one study found that parents' maths anxiety reduced their child's learning of maths, but only if they tried to actively help with homework. So if you have maths anxiety, as in you avoid maths and you don't like maths, and you express it, when you're helping your child learn maths, it actually is detrimental for your child. You actually, you are making your child more anxious by saying things like that, or by helping them with their homework when you have math anxiety. It's not that you don't know how to do the maths, it's more the way you're helping them. Okay, so this is something I do in my own home, and I wanted to share it with you guys as well. So growth mindset at home: celebrate mistakes. I know it's very hard celebrate mistakes, but celebrate them and go, oh yes, so this is what you did today, right? Yes, okay. So I remember with the eldest child, and when she breaks something and she would, oh sorry, it was an accident. As soon as she says that, I calm down very quickly, because there is nothing I can do really. If something is an accident and she tells me it's an accident, I can't really do anything. I just go, thank you for letting me know, and thank you for being honest. So she usually came to me to tell me she's done something, even if I wouldn't have noticed it, but she coming to me and telling me, I feel like that helped her accept that mistakes are inevitable. So accidents can happen, and you just have to move on after that. And use fun analogies when you're doing. So this is basically when you are talking to your child. So I'm trying to think of something. Oh yeah, like my grandfather likes to say, regrets are for fools. And so it kind of makes me feel like I don't want to regret, because I'm not a fool. So if I make a mistake, I just move on straight away. I don't want to be thinking, oh, I wish I did this way or that way, because I'm not a fool. Also, you can I'm trying to think of examples here. Analogies means examples of, things that our grandparents used to say, like proverbs and sayings and stuff like that. As trying something new. This is a big one, especially for some of us, where, we just go from school home, or we take our children from school home, but encouraging them to try something new. Yourself, you can try something new, something you've not done before, maybe ice skating, running, exercise, and going to the gym, and take your child with you as a bonding session. Or you can learn how to sew clothing, or anything. Just join classes with your child and try something new, especially if you feel like your child has a fixed mindset. I would really encourage you to do this. You'll be helping them a lot and making them better and more capable people in later life. Use positive language, and so do not say I wasn't really good at maths. You can say something like, it took me a while to understand maths. I would have loved to have another chance of going at it again and seeing how I will do it. Or at home as well, instead of saying, oh, why did you do this, you could try and change it to something positive. Ask your child to teach you. I love this. I love doing it with my 5-year-old. I pretend I know nothing. And currently his school is encouraging him to read. So when he's reading a book and I'll be looking at it and I'm thinking, oh my God, what do you think would happen? I ask a lot of what do you think? Oh, what do you think will happen? I don't understand this. And he will be explaining it to me. So he thinks he's teaching me how to read the book. And that is really good. So try and do that. Ask your child to teach you. You could be like, oh yeah, this has been, if they're doing their homework, oh, this has been a very long time since I did this. When I was very little like you. Can you remind me, how do you do this? And then it will help, because I always tell my students that if you explain something to someone else, your knowledge of that thing is secure. So that if you can explain it to someone else, that means you will never forget it, because you've just explained it to someone else. And that's how it will work with your child. Create a family manifesto. This is something like affirmations. This is a big thing right now in the industry, where you're talking about, okay, so if we make mistakes, we'll make sure that we don't. I don't know examples right now on the top of my head, but it's kind of like statements you have. Those there is so many of them, quotes that you can buy with the as part of your home decorations, where we celebrate mistakes, we eat together, we work together, we don't see failure as a bad thing, things like that. And I don't do that, by the way. I don't do manifesto. For me, it's very little. What I try to do, as I told you and I've shared with you, is little things and consistently. And for some reason, it kind of works with my children. And then look out for growth mindset behaviors. And so anything that is growth mindset behaviors, really look out for them. I remember when when my daughter got her results, even though I encourage growth mindset and is a passionate of me, but as a parent, being raised by strict parents who have high expectations, and they wanted nothing but less than an A. So when my child got something less, it kind of took me a while to process it. But for her, it was just like, Mom, it's just a GCSE results. It's not a big deal. And in the end, she did end up going to the college of her choice, and she did end up doing her A levels, and everything was really good. But it took me a second to go, and then. But she reacted differently to my reaction. So that just shows me so much that she has a really strong growth mindset, and I love that. I was so proud of her. And then you can write or draw your goals. This is a huge thing in terms of goal setting. So I don't want to talk a lot about it. Let me just give you some more tips. Okay, so try using these question prompts when helping with homework. How did your teacher go about solving these problems? Encourage them to look at their books. What do you not say? Shall we try to look up how to do that on the internet and see if we can understand together? So you can go onto YouTube and type in the topic and then, understand it together. You don't have to do it. If you just do it the first 2-3 times, after that, you don't need to do it, because they'll do it themselves. But you just need to be there and showing them that they can do this. Also, you can say, can we draw the problem in a different way? Majority of the maths topics or concepts is real life concepts. So you can think about it in a real life situation and go, okay, what if it's something to do with money? You could be like, oh yeah, what if we were going to shopping and we did this? Can we use these counters to represent the problem? Or you can use coins. We don't use coins anymore, but anything you have at home, rice grains, anything, you can use to represent the problem. Or can you explain it to me in your own words? That's a big one. So these are statements that you can use. I'm going to be sharing this PowerPoint with you guys, so you can use this, or you can always go back to it. Replace this maths is hard with maths is exciting. So when you're talking with your child, maths is exciting. Instead of saying I was never good at maths, you can say anyone can learn with hard work. And instead of saying I'm not a maths person, I want you to be saying it's not about being smart. Oh, that looks tricky. Instead of saying that, say maths is all around us in the world. It really will help. As I've shown you before, these statements are really they're really detrimental to your child's confidence in maths. Right, and this is little thing that will help them, God willing. Okay, something else, another strategy you can use is to take a small character and have them do the maths. So you know, especially if your child clumps up and becomes nervous when asked to talk about the reasoning. So let's get, this is a statement, so let's get Spider-Man. Right now Spider-Man is a big thing. Let's get Spider-Man to help us with this maths problem. Or which numbers would Spider-Man divide first? Or would Spider-Man add 0? Or what would Spider-Man do next? So these are some of the prompts that will really help. And the reason why we're doing it is because it takes the pressure off of the child, as they're not being directly asked what they would do. So there's less accountability if they make a mistake. It is not an attack on their own self-concept. So to be honest with you, I found out recently when I was planning for this session about these, and I'm actually going to start using them, because in my classroom I never just take the answer. I take the answer and I ask why. And for some reason, for me, it was to encourage them to understand the concept rather than, and you know, not just memorize the rules. But I feel like right now, because I still don't know who really has math anxiety and who hasn't, because I don't know what's happening at home with everyone. I just know with my year 9s, because I spoke to their parents recently. So I think from now on I'll be using this and trying to, you know, remove the pressure of my students. But they are really good tactics that you can use. And then these are the manipulatives that I was telling you about. These can be especially helpful when you're struggling with math anxiety, as the anxiety makes it harder for us to hold numbers in our head. So for me as a teacher, I have 30 students, maybe 25 students minimum. And so it's very hard to use manipulatives all the time. And it's going to be messy, it's going to take a long time. So try to take that advantage at home and buy them this. If you go to Amazon, you can find all of them there. And so buy them. Instead of buying them toys, I would encourage you to buy them manipulators. If you just put maths manipulatives, you'll see so much. This is really good in explaining fractions. This as well is so good. And these ones, there's so many. Just type in maths manipulatives on Amazon website or anywhere, and try and encourage these things at home. Even if your teenager is in year 10 or 11, buy them this. It will help reduce their anxiety. And then don't worry if you don't have the same items at home. You can use lots of other things instead. So like here you can use coins, and as you can see, this is a full one, and then there's quarters and here. Or you can use the egg holder. Yeah, but try and encourage them. This was really interesting because I had one of my students last year was tutoring, and we were doing something about money. And like Best Buy, it's called Best Buy, where they have to choose which one is the best option, whether they buy, let's say, 5 cans of Sprite with which is £1.20, or 7 cans of Sprite, which is £2.50. I'm just coming up with the costs. And the student couldn't understand it, and I told him, oh, have you not seen these in real life? You know, when you go to Costco or you go to Tesco or you even go to Asda, you see them, they say 2 for 1, or if you want you can buy this. And he goes, no, I have never seen it because I don't go shopping with my parents. And it kind of made me realize why. Why are you not taking your child shopping with you? That is such a really big learning experience. Looking at the time on the bus, if you're going on the bus, looking at the time. When you're on driving, looking at the speed limit. And what does that mean? And you can look at different speed limits. Looking at when you're filling up the petrol, what's happening? How much is the cost? How does it add up? There's so many things. Shopping, first of all, is a big thing because there is discounts. You can do percentages in Asda. You can do fractions in Asda. Do you? Yeah, you can do fractions in Asda. You could do decimals in Asda because if you had £19 20 and you give the cashier £20, what would be the difference? That is decimal. So especially Costco, I like Costco. I remember my mom and dad would be like, especially my mom, she'll be like, what does this say? And I'll be explaining to her, mom, if you buy this is the amount. If you buy this is the amount. So that means one is this. So I'm trying to like show her which one is the best option. And I would encourage you to take your children shopping so that they can see all these opportunities. Okay, so problem solving and perseverance. Solving word problems. Children need to develop internal strategies that they can use when stuck on a problem. So as I told you before, with my son, 5 years old, he kind of developed internal strategies where he has no choice but to finish it. And so he was able to finish the puzzle even though all his other classmates moved on from it. So problem solving is a big thing in maths, because when the GCSE curriculum was changed, people didn't realize that it wasn't just the grades going from A to E to 9 to 1. So before we had grade A star, B, C, D, and all that. But now we have grade 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But it wasn't just that was changed. But something else, a huge thing that was changed was problem solving. So there's more problem solving in the GCSE exams than there was before. Problem solving and reasoning. And so I try as a teacher from year 7 to try and encourage a little bit of problem solving and reasoning as they go along throughout the years. And this is something you can encourage us home as well. So these are the strategies. So especially when they see word problems, and I want you to encourage them, because children tend to ignore or avoid word problems. And so I want you to encourage them to read, underline, plan, write, solve, and reflect. So these are the steps. So the first step in solving a word problem is to read. So they read it, ask them to read it to you, and then underline the keyword. Ask them to underline the keyword. Which keywords are they underlining? And then ask them to plan. What are they going to use? What concept are they going to add, subtract? What is the question asking them? And then now work it out. So write it down, work it out, solve it, and then think, was this the correct way? If not, then go back again. Read, underline, plan, write, solve, and reflect. I have like a whole strategy on, so I could speak about solving word problems for a whole hour. So this is just the basics that I'm trying to share with you. Okay, so before I something I found out from my year 9 parents evening is that year 7 and year 8, if you do the bare minimum, you kind of get away with it and you're okay. But 9, 10 and 11, year 9, 10 and 11, you can't be doing the bare minimum. And this is something that came as a shock for my year 9s, because I currently teach top set, and they didn't do as well as they did in the first half term. And I made them realize that, and it made them realize that you can't do the bare minimum. So the people who are performing really well are the people who are doing independent learning. So we have a system, a homework system, an online homework system, which tracks how many hours students have spent in doing homework and independent learning. And there's a correlation between those people who do a lot of independent learning and their grades are high. So anyone who was doing, so we have a homework system where we have 1 compulsory and 2 optionals. So anyone who was doing 1 compulsory and the 2 options since September have all produced really good grades. The rest who were just doing the compulsory homework, of course, their grades were not good. So, and the thing is, it's easy for me to tell them, go home and make sure you're doing independent study. It's very important because year 9 you're starting the GCSE curriculum, so things are going to be intense, and especially if they're doing higher, because we have higher and foundation. So if they're doing higher, it's going to be extra intense. So you can't just be doing bare minimum and expect to get good grades. You need to be studying at home. You need to have like a system. So I'm going to one day, God willing, create another session to show you how you can help your child study at home. There's so many tricks and so many advice and tips and all that I will share with you another time. But all I will say is that try and be involved, especially if you want your child to be getting that grade 8 and 9 so that they can do A-level maths, so that they can go to the choice of university. You need to be doing your bit as well. So because they only are in school from 8 to, let's say, 8 to 3 or 4 p.m, let's say maximum 4 p.m. The rest of the time at home, you need to be encouraging them at least 1 hour a week at least, and then next time after that. Anyway, so much to talk about with that. You can join me in the next session. I plan for that. For now, all I want to say is that encourage them, be involved, at least for the first 5 sessions. And then after that, they'll be doing it on their own. They won't need your help. They'll be like, oh no, I got this. But for the first time, you need to be there